The world's oceans are vast and can be lonely, uninviting places. Nevertheless, explorers have scoured the seas for centuries, uncovering all manners of oddities and mysteries. Maritime lore abounds with stories full of mystery, such as those of ghost ships, sailing the world's oceans manned by a ghostly crew and destined never to make port. One of these sea mysteries is that of the Octavius. The Octavius was a legendary 18th-century ghost ship discovered off the coast of Greenland in 1775, 13 years after she went missing. According to the story, in 1761, the Octavius docked in the port of London to take on a cargo destined for China. She left port with a full crew, the skipper, his wife and their son. They safely made it to China where they unloaded their cargo and planned to return home with goods to sell in the British markets. It was at this point that their captain made a fatal mistake. Aiming to seize the unseasonably warm temperatures, he set a course for the then undiscovered and unproven Northwest Passage, a voyage that at the time had not been accomplished. This was the last that anyone heard of the vessel, her crew, or her cargo. Octavius was eventually declared lost to the sea. On October 11, 1775, the whaling ship Herald was working the frigid waters off Greenland when it spotted a sailing ship. The captain of the Herald ordered a boarding party to search the vessel, which they had determined was the Octavius. The 5-man boarding party arrived on deck to find it deserted. They broke open the ship's hatch and went down the quarters only to find the entire crew of 28 below deck, dead, frozen, and almost perfectly preserved. In the captain's cabin, they found the captain seated at his desk, pen in hand, with the ship's logbook open on the desk in front of him. The inkwell and other everyday items were still in their place on the desk. Turning around, they saw a woman wrapped in a blanket on the bunk, frozen to death, along with the body of a young boy. The boarding party took only the captain's log before leaving the vessel, because they were unwilling to search it. In their mad flight, they lost the middle pages of the logbook that were frozen solid and came loose from the book binding. They arrived back on the Herald with just the first and last pages of the logbook, which were enough for the master of the Herald to determine at least a part of the story of the voyage. The captain of the Octavius had tried to navigate the Northwest Passage, but his ship had become imprisoned in the ice of the Arctic, and the entire crew had perished. The last entry in the log was from November 11, 1762, which meant that the ship had been lost in the Arctic for 13 years. The crew of the Herald were frightened of the Octavius and feared that it was cursed, so they simply left it adrift. To this day, it has never been sighted again.